Hello and welcome back. So I'll just take a quick moment to talk about the console. So in the last episode, we made it so that when the enemy gets close enough to a turret, it starts putting out should fire to the console. So what the console is, this is just a place for us to log messages. The player will never see this. This is just for our use. And it's got a few features. We can clear the console, we can collapse the console, and what collapse means is if that's enabled, any duplicate messages will be collapsed into one row with a number. So rather than seeing the message 2,757 times, we just see the same message once. Clear on play, that's going to allow us to clear the console when the game starts. I usually keep that checked because you don't want to see messages from a previous run through after starting the game. So I just keep that on. And then error on pause, or whatever, error pause. That means if there's any errors in your code, it's going to pause the game. So now that you know what that is, hopefully that's helpful. I use it all the time, and typically to print messages, you either type print or debug.log, and those do the exact same thing. They both just send it to the Unity console window. You can also do debug.log warning, and that's going to print like a yellow error message, and then you can also do log error, I think, debug.log error, yeah, and then that's going to print a red message, and if you have error on pause enabled, that's going to also pause your game. So that can be pretty useful for testing your code, if you want it to pause at a certain spot. And there's various different ways you could pause the game. You could also do time dot, what is it, rate. Oh, timescale. You could also do time.timescale equals 0, and that effectively pauses your game. So there's lots of different things you can do here. Now, in this episode, I want to continue working on the turrets. So the enemy gets within a certain range, the turrets target the enemy, and we could, if we wanted to, we could create the particle system and manually rotate it to face the enemy. I think that that's not going to be necessary though, because if we take this particle system laser prefab, if we drop that onto the eye, and then reset its position and rotation, you can see that that's just firing directly out from the eye. And so now as long as we have that, can't really see it, as long as we have that as a child of the eye, rotating the eye also rotates the laser beam. And I think that looks pretty good. So we're not going to worry about creating any script to rotate the laser. We're just going to attach it as a child of the eye. So to do that, when the laser tower is activated, when it should be firing, we just need to make sure that we have a laser prefab enabled. And actually, specifically for the laser tower, since we're just using a prefab, it might be worthwhile to just enable and disable the prefab rather than instantiating it every time. So I think we'll do that. So we'll have a public game object attack prefab, and then we'll also have a public game object attack instance. And so this is the prefab that we're spawning, and then after we spawn it, this is the game object that will exist in the scene. So why don't we just create it right when the game starts. So we're going to say game object, or game object.instantiate. Okay, so this method returns an object, so we're going to have to cast it to a game object. So game object attack instance equals game object.instantiate. And so this line of code is essentially going to create the particle system. And we're trying to create this guy right here. So we can just take that, copy and paste it. And we have a few different options for how we want to do this. Original, parent, world space, position, rotation. I usually use the 7th option. You pass in what you want, the position and the rotation of the object. We also might want to use the parent option. Here we go. So position, that's just going to be the same position as the eye. And then rotation, that'll be the same rotation as the eye. And then we'll just pass in the eye's transform, and that should make that the parent, because you can see the 4th option is parent. And so that, yeah, that's going to be the parent assigned to the new object. So that's going to be the eye. And then I think if we save this, it's going to give us an error. Oh, maybe not. I think they recently changed this, but you used to have to cast it. You used to have to say as game object. But I don't think you have to do that anymore. All right, so now we have a reference to the particle system. We don't necessarily want it to show up right when the game starts, so we're going to say attack instance dot active self. Oh, that was read only. Instance dot. So we can't set that because it says read only. So we're gonna have to say set active. There it is. Set active to false. And so right when the game starts, we create the particle system and then we just turn it off. And now in should fire, we can say attack instance dot set active true. And we only need to do that. We only need to do that if it's disabled. So we can say if attack instance dot active self is false. Whoops. And same thing in reverse. So if we shouldn't be firing, if it is enabled, disable it. Alright, so I haven't tested this. I'm not sure if that's going to work or not, but we'll see what happens. Uh-oh. Unassigned reference exception. The variable attack instance has not been assigned. Oh, right. Okay, so oh, and the reason that happened now, attack instance, this is a global variable for the whole script. So anywhere that I type this, like here and here, these two are referencing this variable. But like an idiot, I wrote game object here and then attack instance. And now this is a local variable. This is only within this method. So now we actually have two instances of this variable. We have attack instance within start, and then we also have attack instance within the whole script. And since this one's local, it works here, but then it's not actually assigning it to this one. So to fix that, we just get rid of this. So now we just have a single attack instance variable throughout the script. Play that. And now hopefully it should activate. Alright, so it activated and it's pointing exactly the opposite direction. And it looks like that's actually a problem with our targeting script. I hadn't noticed before because these are pretty symmetrical, but the turrets are actually, like, you can tell from the pointed piece here, they're actually facing the exact opposite direction they're supposed to be. And that's an easy fix. So go back to targeting, and literally all we have to do is take transform.position and make that the subtracted value here. So direction is target position minus transform.position. And I mess this up all the time. I'm never sure which way to subtract. If I drew out a picture, I could figure it out, but in my head, I just pretty much always get it wrong. So now that should work. Alright, so I made them face the right way, and then I wanted to tweak the particle system, and doing that kind of took a lot of tweaking. So rather than making you watch me tweak the values for like 6 straight minutes, I just truncated the video, and now I'll explain the changes that I made. So if we take our laser prefab particle system, now it looks like this. And all I did to fix it was I clicked on this little drop down and shows random between 2 colors as the starting color. And now I have kind of a more highly saturated dark blue and a slightly less saturated purple color. And then in the renderer, before I think we had it set to billboard, so you're seeing a lot of particles shoot through, and then you're also seeing the trails. So if I get rid of the trails, now you can see we have all these particles. And for the render mode, I just set that to none, and so now we're not getting any particles. And then turn the trails back on, and now all we have is the trails behind the particles. So I think that looks a lot better. I think that's all I tweaked. I'm still using the default particle. I don't think I changed anything about the trails. I'm not using noise. I don't think I was before, so that didn't change. And now oh yeah, and the particle start size, I set that to random between 2 constants, and I have 0.1 and 0.51. Again, you don't have to copy my values. You can do pretty much whatever you want here. It's just, this is more about how you want it to look. And then once you get something you like, just click apply, and then you can delete that from the scene. And now this is what mine looks like. If you want to copy mine exactly at this point, just go to the GitHub repository. And while we're at it, I might as well show you that. So github.com/EvanDaily, and repositories, Season 2 Tower Defense, and there's 14 commits. The next commit is going to be Season 2 episode, I think this is episode 13, start, and then you can just click on that and download the repository at that point. Browse files, and then clone or download. Right, so that'll get you to where we are now if you don't want to build all this yourself. So I hope this was useful, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, and before you go, one of my friends is working on this game called Horde Boss. I recommend checking it out. You can find it by just searching Horde Boss on Facebook. It is a hack and slash action RPG platformer based in a 2D world. There's not a lot of video of it yet, and I haven't played it yet, so I can't tell you if it's fun. But they're doing a really good job advertising it as they develop it. So just from a game developer standpoint, sometimes it's good to look at other people's games and see what they're doing to promote their product. So I recommend checking this out. And down the road, if you're watching this and the game is already out, I recommend buying it because it's probably going to be awesome.